All right, we're right at 8:15, and I don't know if this was going to possibly run over, so we should probably jump right in and get started. We got about 50 people in here now, but again, please self-mute yourself. All right, actually, I can mute all, but I'm getting some feedback. So if you have a question, though, I may have somebody speak up at that point in time. You can unmute yourself, but we'll try to use the chat, and we'll use the chat here within the tool. So Zoom, yeah. So within Zoom, we'll use that chat to communicate to me, and then you can unmute as well once we establish a communication point. All right, so let's get started. Today, this session at Reconnect is the road to Kibana, and learn how PeopleSoft customers pave their way to visualization. So today, I really want to talk about a few use cases of how Kibana is being used today, and then really let you understand, the opportunity that you have in front of you with this great delivered visualization tool. So let's get started. My name's Gary Drenikowski. I'm a director with SpearMC Consulting. My contact information is there. I'm based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's my cell phone number. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, feel free to text, call, or use email there as well. It comes right to me, so I will definitely be responsive if you have any questions or need anything further. A little bit about SpearMC. We're an Oracle Platinum partner. We specialize in pretty much everything PeopleSoft, and then we touch in a few other areas, including Oracle EPM and OBIEE, which is actually my specialty area and how I ended up being our PeopleSoft Kibana expert. But across the board within PeopleSoft, we do all modules, application support, a lot of training, hosting on OCI, PTF, as well as general consulting. Managed services, that's a big focus point for me. So testing, infrastructure, support, both technical and functional, keeping people current. We're across the country. Like I said, I'm in Pittsburgh, and then we have offices basically coast to coast. So we started in San Francisco, and I think my office was the latest one in Pittsburgh. And we were Gartner recognized this year. So that's something that as a firm, we were very, very proud of, getting that specialization specific in, the PeopleSoft and OCI space for managed services. We have quite a few sessions today. There are 10 sessions that the SpearMC team will be putting out. So definitely want to check some of these out. My colleagues are phenomenal at presenting and have really some great sessions in, emerging technologies, as well as, just how to and lessons learned and things that we've done over the past 20 years as an organization. All right, but the focus today really is Kibana, right? And how Kibana is being used by organizations that have deployed the delivered dashboards as well as creating their own content. But before we speak too much about Kibana, let's just talk a little bit about reporting in PeopleSoft in general. So across the top are 6 tools that you all should be very familiar with: Query, SQR, Envision, BI Publisher, Pivot Grids, and then Kibana. So I put this chart together, and it's sort of my view as to when you would want to use a particular tool for a certain item. And it's not always one size fits all, and there are exceptions, but I think it's a really good guiding chart to go by, right? And everybody should be familiar with Query, and that's a foundational tool, that and SQR. Then you look at Envision and BI Publisher. Those two came out. They didn't come out when PeopleSoft started, but they started to provide some additional capabilities, Envision specifically with Excel, and then BI Publisher with some formatted reporting. And then you look at analytical type reports. So for analytics, we have Pivot Grids, and then we have Kibana. So probably 3 or 4 years ago, the Pivot Grids, I don't know the exact number, but when Pivot Grids came out, I think they're very good, as long as they are addressing a more simple need, right? If you have large data and you want to really put a lot of information on, the pivot grids tend to struggle. And I think that's where Kibana, from an analytical perspective, really provided that next level of visual reporting and capabilities directly within PeopleSoft. So this is a takeaway. Everybody should be able to download this from the deck. All right, so speaking specifically to Kibana, though, let's talk about the end-to-end flow. So in order to use, I actually have this, and it has 1 through 18, and I'm probably actually going to go backward from 18 back to 1. So let's think about this. Anything in these blue colored boxes, these are things that happen in PeopleSoft. These 2 green boxes, these actually occur in Kibana. So right here, enable steps 14 through 18, enable Kibana dashboard. So when Oracle delivers a PUM, they are actually going to deliver a dashboard that has all of these things complete. And all you're really doing is using that dashboard. You may have to deploy it, right? But that is the delivered dashboard. If you want to make any changes to that dashboard, you're going to have to at least go to Kibana and make a change, right? And that's just a simple configuration change to something that's there. Maybe you cloned the dashboard, modified it, assuming that the data set that you were built upon was all available in Elasticsearch. So this section here, Search Admin, Search Designer, this is Elasticsearch. This is the data set that Kibana will be actually reading off of. So if a element of data that you're looking for, data element, is not available in Kibana, you would need to go back to somewhere in Search Framework and make a change to that data set. If it's not available in your query that populates your Elasticsearch index, you need to go all the way back to a PeopleSoft query and modify that query definition and then build all the way forward. So you get that data point that is now available in your Kibana dashboard. You build it here, and then you re-import that actual dashboard. So Kibana use cases. Let's talk about 5 different use cases. The initial thing I started there is utilizing delivered dashboards. So Oracle delivers with the PUMs new dashboards almost every release for Kibana. So you can just intake that new PUM, deploy that dashboard out, and roll it out to whoever you assign security to be able to see that. It's nothing too complicated as far as an end user. It's just point click, just like a regular any other web page, right? But those are delivered dashboards. As everybody knows, how many delivered reports actually do exactly what you need, right? So you're going to want to make changes most likely to that delivered dashboard. But maybe that delivered dashboard has everything that you want to do, except instead of something that's set up by business unit, you want to actually see that by department. So you may want to then, in the second line, go in, clone that delivered dashboard, and modify it. And that would be a simple go and fix that, make that change in Kibana, and then you make that change here, and then you re-enable that over in PeopleSoft so that your end users can actually see that dashboard. The next one is utilize delivered Elastic indexes and create custom dashboards. So this is actually one of the examples I'm going to show that we did at a customer. But what I'm referring to here is there's an Elasticsearch index that exists that PeopleSoft delivered, but there's no dashboard built upon that data. But you can simply take that data, go build however many visualizations you want, and then put them on a dashboard, and then bring that dashboard into PeopleSoft for your end users. That's about the most simple type of it's not fully custom, but right in this case, you were just modifying a delivered dashboard. Now we're talking about building a completely custom dashboard, but we haven't modified the data model itself. So we're utilizing the delivered Elastic index. The fourth one, clone and modify delivered Elastic index, create custom dashboards. So in this case, Oracle delivers the Elastic indexes, and we'll see those on the next few slides. Those indexes again, may not have all the data that you want. Rather than starting from scratch, you could take one of those indexes, add a few columns, and then create your own elastic index. So, again, standard process. This is a way to avoid these being overwritten when new PUM or upgrade happens. But same process. Once you have the data in Elasticsearch Index, you can create the custom dashboard. Finally, the last one. Create a custom Elastic Index and build that custom dashboard from scratch. Both the index and the dashboard are built from scratch. So in this case, you have an idea of something you want to do. There is nothing that exists out there. And specifically, if you were like a student admin customer, or even in like the grants world, there's no good index to do real reporting and dashboards. So in that case, you're going to have to create a custom index and then move do the entire process custom, including the dashboards. So what's delivered, right? So there are new dashboards with every release, and there's probably 20, 25 listed here, but automatically with PeopleTools 858, you can get the Health Center. You have to use Logstash. Make sure you install that if you plan on using the Health Center along with Kibana and Elasticsearch, which you already would be using. Next, in HCM, there are 7 or 8 as of PUM 39, but I know there are even more coming out with each release. So again, starting point, delivered dashboards. With PUM, I think that's a typo, one of those PUMs, but FSCM, there are also about a dozen or so dashboards here that have all the various content areas, AR, GL, asset management expenses, and then there's a nice set of dashboards on the procurement and purchasing side as well. So a good starting point, delivered dashboards, you do nothing other than roll them out. All of those dashboards are built on Elasticsearch indexes. So while you saw that you had maybe 20 or 25 different delivered dashboards there are over 100 delivered Elasticsearch indexes. So within each of these areas, there are Elasticsearch indexes available. Some of these are great. You're able to do really good reporting. They were specifically built for reporting. Other ones, they were built for searching, because that's where Elasticsearch really became embedded within the PeopleSoft stack. It is the search utility. So that is why some of these indexes, while you technically could build something in Kibana off of them, you may not have a great data set to build off of. But that's where you get into that case where I say, okay, you have a delivered Elasticsearch index, but I want to clone that and then make some additions to that Elasticsearch index and make my own additional, fields or calculations, data elements, whatever term you want to use there for your report. So again, finance has even more Elasticsearch indexes than HCM, but it's a good starting point and it provides a nice base, especially if you want to just get in there and start doing some custom development. All right, so now I want to talk a little bit about some work that we did at the customer. And this customer is Parkview Health in Fort Wayne, Indiana. They are on Financials 9.2, PUM 37, PeopleTools 85805. And when we did their upgrade, we rolled out the delivered dashboard. So they're using this, I think they have like 6 of them, but they really had a requirement after the customer started using them to create a new Kibana dashboard for AP payments. So they liked the way the Kibana dashboard looked, but they wanted it based on payments. So what exactly did that mean, right? If you look at the top of this is the delivered dashboard for trend analysis. And this dashboard was built based on the number of vouchers. So they liked that a lot. The number in this particular number of, I think it's an AP vouchers. Try to go back and see Elasticsearch index, AP vouchers right here on the left side, AP vouchers index pattern. So that's what that was built from. And they wanted to know, can we build something that looks like this, because we really like this. We like the functionality, but we want to build it based on payments. So just a little bit of information, and we came through and we built this dashboard based on payments. This screenshot was taken before the labels were updated, but so very similar looking to this one. We basically just went in, and instead of using the vouchers Elasticsearch index, we used the AP payments. And this was pretty easy to do. Basically, you went into Kibana, new visualization, and instead of selecting vouchers, we select payments. We created a dashboard. I cut off at the bottom because it had some details that I didn't want to share, but we had, just the payment here, the gross amount, and then we had the total number of payments in their payment type. And then at the bottom, we provided the details. So that's the standard format that Oracle does in their delivered dashboards as well, where they'll have, 2 to 6 different visualizations at the top, and then at the bottom, they will provide the detailed report. All right, second customer example was at Hackensack Meridian Health. So these guys were on HCM, Capital Management, PUM 36, 85808, and they had a requirement to produce IT capital labor dashboards with cost breakdowns at various levels. And what they came to me with was 3 sequels, and they were like, we have this spec, we want to build this report that has all of these details, right? And I was just like, I think this is an excellent opportunity to look at Kibana to, instead of doing this in your standard reporting, however they want, I don't remember how they wanted to do this, but, let's look at doing this maybe in Kibana. So we actually got together, held, and I did an intro to Kibana and basically like a 30-minute, 45-minute overview of what Kibana is, how you can use it. And then we followed that up with a requirements deep dive session. So they really understanding what they were trying to do with this report and all the various data elements that they wanted to bring in. So they had these 3 SQL thing here that they provided, and what we determined was, I think what you really need to do is take those 3 SQLs and create a custom, giant table SQL view that combines all that data into one data set. So that's what kind of sent them away. We worked on that. We worked hand in hand some. I mean, they knew the data and what they were looking for better than I did. So I just gave some pointers here and there, but we created this SQL view, and then we used that view to source our query, and then that query to build the Elasticsearch index. So once we went through the process and had an Elasticsearch index built with that data set, we simply then went into Kibana, brought that Elasticsearch index in, and we were able to create these 4 different dashboards, right? So we did it for 4 different user groups. So this one was project labor for managers, and they were able to get a lot of just a nice visual. I mean, I think that's, much easier to digest than, this sort of spec stuff that they were looking for here. So they were really happy. We were really happy with the way this turned out. So 4 different flavors of this though. So this one was for managers, and then we had ID cost by department for finance. And again, you have the, details at the bottom. So very similar format, but they're all, geared to specific users. Some filtering enabled. IT labor for IT leaders, and then finally IT labor comparison by month for leaders, month by month comparison. So 4 dashboards, fully custom solution, custom underlying data set, custom Elasticsearch, custom Kibana dashboards. Then we embed these all back into PeopleSoft. So that process, when these actual users, these leaders, the IT managers, etc., they're not going into Kibana. They're only accessing these dashboards through PeopleSoft. Any changes requested, they're being done by the IT team in this case, or their super users. So all of this, actually, I did in particular the hack and sack one, I said, well, this is actually great. Like what we did there pretty quickly has enabled us to go out and simply take what folks had learned in a training class and apply that to this Kibana workshop. So what we're doing now is we're actually offering this service to create the business case. So the exact process I talked about, right? Create a business case, create your data source, work with you to build this Kibana dashboard and deploy to users. So it's really cool, and got quite a few people going through this process now. So the next time I give this presentation, I mean, I could have chosen from 5 or 6 other customers at least, and next time I'll have quite a few more. So pretty excited about that. And the key to all of this is, you know, we're setting this workshop up similar to a like a hands-on training, but we're using your environment, your data. So it's really, and it's an opportunity then to you have something that's tangible that you would be able to roll out to your actual users. So exactly what we did at those customers is something that we can do for you as well. How do you get there though, right? You need to be on PeopleSoft 858. So if you're not on 858, is that on your roadmap? When is that going to happen? Kibana application data, you have to be on 858. If you want real-time data, you have to be on 859. So it's important to look at your overall roadmap and determine, you know, what do you want to get out of PeopleSoft and what is important to you? And if you can, you know, see where you want to get certain things, then you have a plan if you have a roadmap. So also something that, you know, I can help you out with. All right, that's the end of this presentation. So I wanted to, you know, leave a few minutes at the end for questions. I covered quite a bit there, but I think there were some really good customer examples of how folks are using Kibana to, you know, enable decision-making directly within PeopleSoft and not have to go to other external reporting systems. Again, that is my contact info. I see a couple questions coming in here, or at least comments. Thank you. Any questions from anyone? I see just thanks, but I can keep talking and show some other stuff if not. Yes, so Kibana dashboards are interactive. I'm sorry, I didn't cover the basics. Let me screen share differently. Yeah, I'm going off script here, but we know how that sometimes can go. But okay. All right, let me reshare my screen here. So you were asking, is Kibana interactive? When you first come into Kibana, or into PeopleSoft, access a page that has a Kibana tile. You'll know it's Kibana because it's going to flash that Kibana K. And once that gets up there, it's a tile within PeopleSoft right on any homepage, however you set it up, right? But when you click here, it's now going to open another page within Kibana, and now we have a fully interactive page. So if I click on California here, this entire page will be updated to show California. You can see it applied that filter up there, and now we see the various cities in California where these applications were submitted from. And then you have the actual details at the bottom. And another thing that's nice is you can actually drill from here back to your PeopleSoft page. So in this case, this Karen Rudinsky, external applicant, if I click here, it actually takes me to the PeopleSoft page that where you can take additional action directly within Manage Applicant in PeopleSoft. And recently I did some testing with unified navigation. So those of you that are interested in unified navigation, Kibana tiles, you can do unified navigation and get content from both finance and HCM.
Hello, Gary. This is Dinesh Gupta from State of Connecticut. Can I ask you a question, please?
Sure.
So, at State of Connecticut, we have Oracle Business Intelligence, and we use our analytics reporting through that. So how is it different than that? And does this has the capability of integrating external data? Because, there are requirements from users at times when they want to merge non-PeopleSoft data into their reporting and produce some reports.
Sure.
So, how does Kibana handle that? And basically what the main thing is, how is it really different than Oracle Business Intelligence for us to understand, if we have to ever move from OBI EE, OBI A to Kibana, what is it that we're looking at? Is there any pros and cons, or one can do one thing and the other cannot, or something like that?
So I'll answer a couple of those questions. So let me first address external data sources. In PeopleTools 859, that is functionality that's set up within Search Framework to incorporate external data. I haven't tried it, but it is there. So it's not just on the horizon. I mean, I was in Tools 859 environment just last week and looking at it, but I didn't actually go through trying to set it up. I was just showing it during a class, and we were like, oh yeah, so right here you can do this, and we were just looking at kind of the setup. So yeah, that's one. Secondly, on your OBI question, so Oracle Business Intelligence, that's a great question, because my background actually was OBI, and I will say that if you're reporting on data that only exists in PeopleSoft, and there's things you can do directly here by just creating an Elasticsearch index and reporting on that. So in your end users, they don't have to leave PeopleSoft to do the reporting, right? So with OBI, you have to actually go out to that separate OBI environment to get things. Here, you can embed these analytics directly onto your PeopleSoft pages. I think that's the biggest gain. I mean, there's things you can do in OBI, and I think it's probably a more robust of a tool, but depending on what you're doing, this is pretty good, because you don't have to license anything separate. It's all included within PeopleSoft. And it may not replace your data warehouse, right? In OBI, you can have a data warehouse pulling from all these different data sources a lot easier, I would say, than what I imagine is going to happen even with external data here in Kibana.
So let's keep the external data on the side. That could be something that could be let's keep that on the side. So the reason long time ago, when we had these EPM, the queries and the tools, there was a time when if a user runs a huge report, we have data where payroll, for example, has 2 billion rows on it, and voucher, accounting line, project costing, all into like 700, 800 million rows. And if a user runs a huge query, because these projects go for 20 years, it used to stall the system. So that's where the warehouse came into picture, where you accidentally don't hit the actual production environment, and you're off the hook. You don't touch so that was the idea of getting the warehouse outside. So where do we stand with this Kibana now? Like, for example, if a user runs a select star from payroll data, I'm just throwing it out with the
that's actually a good point.
Will it bring the system down?
No, I should have said that. The large data set So whenever Kibana is rendering data and it's trying to pull data in, it's actually pulling from your Kibana index. It's not hitting the database itself. So, there's a hit somewhere along the way, right? You can't the data just doesn't automatically get into the index. So at night, you'll run a batch process that refreshes your Elasticsearch indexes. And once the data is in your index, Kibana will be pulling from that Elasticsearch index and not against your database. So you will need to make sure you have enough power on your Elastic server if you are creating very large indexes, but it's still capable to.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So one last question. Sorry about taking your time here, but like Oracle Business Intelligence, there are these apps OBIA, right?
Yeah.
So these are OBIA, which Oracle delivered ETL tools for extracting data, and then there are these subject areas that are basically were delivered as a part of those applications. Now, does all those applications basically would be delivered as a part of this Kibana app now?
No. So what's delivered are the Elasticsearch indexes. So the chart that I put up that showed 100 different indexes, those are essentially your data source that you can then build Kibana on top of. So yeah, and not all of them were built for reporting, so you would probably need to enhance them if you want data. I mean, that OBI and the BI apps data set, I mean, that's a pretty robust, and it's been around for years, so it's had time. It's kind of like PeopleSoft, right? It's had time to develop and expand and create a lot more. So if you're going to go straight apples to apples and what you can do in BI apps, I mean, you may be disappointed in Kibana, but you may not either. You might say, wow, well, I don't need all this extra. All I really need is this. I'm getting it in Kibana, right?
Yeah, that's a tough call, because once the users get to use all these reports and you say all of a sudden, out of the 100 reports you're using, 95 will not work anymore. That's a very big, so that means, it is not a one-to-one. We cannot just say tomorrow, okay, as a part of our cloud strategy, let's just get rid of OBIA.
No.
Not using Kibana. It's not going to be like that.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just trying to flip back. I see quite a few questions.
Gary?
Yes.
This is Tammy Boyles with
Tammy.
Oracle. Hey, I just threw in the chat. There is a session tomorrow at 9:45 Eastern time that's about integrating external data into Kibana reports. So that might be great for some people who want to see that. I just wanted to let you know that.
Great. Thanks. Yeah.
And then also, I'm just going to shamelessly plug at 12:15 today, I'm going to be showing some Kibana recruiting dashboards that will be coming out very soon. So, and now
recruiting on the
to
HCM
another
side,
meeting.
right?
Excuse me?
That's recruiting on the HCM side, right?
Yes, or PeopleSoft Recruiting Solutions.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right.
Yeah. I just happened to read Campus Solutions, any dashboards in the chat. That's why I was asking. Yeah. Whoever asked about Campus Solutions, there are no delivered dashboards for Campus. Unfortunately, there are, I think, 4 delivered indexes or 2 delivered indexes that you could do a little bit of reporting off, but you probably would have to go and write a custom query and then build an Elasticsearch index to do that. So any migration? So migration between Kibana environments, that uses ADS projects. If you're familiar with, there's a whole chapter in PeopleBooks on that. External data came up already. No other licensing except the PUM and PeopleTools versions. Yes. So no other licensing for Kibana. You just need to be on PeopleTools 858 if you want to use application data. What is your recommendation to get it to deploy the Kibana indexes so we can see the delivered dashboards with our own data? I mean, you got to build all the indexes that are there, and maybe just pick 1 or 2 that to start with. I mean, you can start with, I don't know if you're HCM or FSCM environment, but I think the procurement dashboards are pretty good. So, deploy those few dashboards and, take a look. It's not, because you already have the Elasticsearch indexes available. It's really just going through doing that Kibana install, and you should be able to see the data. Are there ways to set filters? Yes, there are. Those can be saved, so you would make that change in your Kibana definition if you want to set specific filters, and then roll that out. Oh, thank you, Pavan. You took a training session with me and highly recommend it. Is there a trick to get SSO working with Kibana? We currently have to sign in again. Yeah, so there are some issues with SSO, and there are People Tools patches that may need to be applied. That they say they fix it. There's also the single sign-on will work. Like, it works in our training environment because we don't have SSL. So part of the issue was with SSL. Then there was also another issue that was browser-based. But, you know, a lot of those things are getting addressed in the updated People Tools patches. So you may have to, you know, get to the latest version of People Tools, or at least the latest 8.5.8 version if you're on 8.5.8. How do you compare Kibana with Tableau? We probably don't have time to discuss that, other than I would say Kibana is embedded within PeopleSoft. And the other thing I didn't mention, you know, there's so many different things. We have an entire training class on this, and I tried to talk specifically about a few things in 30 minutes. But your security that you have within PeopleSoft, it all gets applied to the data. So I think that, if nothing else, is the licensing that it can that you get it with People Tools 8.5.8 is you know, compelling reasons why you select Kibana, or why Kibana is good. In your reporting grid under Kibana, it indicates you cannot have Excel integration. Does that mean that you cannot export to Excel? That does not mean you can't export to Excel. That just means that it's not great, right? There's an option to export to CSV, but it's not interactive once you get to Excel, and it's just a CSV data dump. So my question in that case is always, well, why do you need to take it to Excel? Why can't we, you know, if we're going to build a dashboard, let's build a dashboard that gets you what you need so you don't have to go to Excel. Because I am assuming most of the time, now not always, but if you're going to Excel, quite often it's so that you can do some other filtering and things like that. Well, why don't we just do that directly on the dashboard? Let's take it the whole way. Can you talk public access to Kibana visualizations for public, no authentication dashboards? Like, I mean, the dashboards, they would be, as long as you have access in PeopleSoft, you would have to have the role that has access to the dashboards, and you should be able to have that directly within PeopleSoft. Integrating external data, that was the class. Thank you, Tammy. Again, that's on Wednesday, 9:45. Can end users easily build their own Kibana reports? They can do related actions on those results. Yes and no. I wouldn't say easily. I mean, there's a slight learning curve. So that's something that you want to look at really from an overall perspective. Like, it's not just a simple answer there, but you can determine which power users have access to create their own dashboards. But most users, I think, are going to be, they're going to be just end users and consumers of those dashboards. Can you export the dashboard to PDF in a nice and visual? That would be a nice alternative to the Excel to me. You know, I haven't done a ton of that. I mean, I don't know that you can. Maybe within Kibana, it might be better functionality, but I think within here, unless you just printed it, I don't even know what that's going to look like. Sorry. If something like that works, I don't know if that's exactly what you want to see, but you know, it doesn't really look that good. But that's within PeopleSoft. That may be something you have to play with. I don't do a ton of printing of these dashboards. I mean, you may find that in that case, you know, if you're embedding this content into an email or in something else, you just end up using like a Snagit and then putting some words around it if that's what you need to do. But that probably is more than what you want to do if it's something you're doing on a recurring basis. All right, well, I think we are way over time, but I appreciate everybody's time. We still have, 106 people in here. So thank you. And if anyone has any questions or needs anything, my contact info is here. So reach out. I would love to, talk more about this, go through a class, go through a workshop with you, whatever you need. I really enjoy doing the Kibana work, specifically with PeopleSoft. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.